Ow. What's up, everyone? Punchy back with Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 3 to Higurashi. See, last time we had Punchy go through more planning with his so easy to kill plan on Satoko's uncle. He's off the deep end, saying that he'll take care of it. He'll take care of the Oishiro-sama's curse after watching Higurashi himself, which is really interesting given his position in all the other chapters so far. Okay, we'll just start from the little part right there. I decided that the most suitable death, the one I need to give him, was the same as last year's curse, the same as the punishment their aunt had received, being beaten to death. Wouldn't beating him to death be somewhat unreliable? You may think that stabbing him with a blade would be more reliable, but this was something I'd chosen after a lot of thought. You just need to think realistically. The law, it prohibited carrying any blades longer than 10 centimeters, I think. So the blades available to me, though long enough, were limited to things shorter than a ruler. You can probably understand how tricky it would be with such a short reach to go up against an opponent that might fight back, and is probably taller and bigger. Taller, bigger, and stronger than you. In that case, using a weapon with reach would be far more effective. It might not have the same precision, but you just have to hit the guy until you killed him. Both the options resulted in death. With that settled, what is the weapon with the most terrifying force behind it that's also easy to carry around? By this point, you should immediately think of a metal baseball bat, of course. Punchy's. It's like it gravitates towards him in every chapter. I don't need to explain how terrifying a metal baseball bat can be as a weapon. Of special note is the fact that you can carry one around in broad daylight and not be thought of as suspicious. Is it like a running theme, Punchy and the baseball bat? From chapter 1, when he tried to use it to protect himself. Chapter 2, he was in an actual game. Just those 2 points would have been enough to choose a metal bat for my weapon. But there was one more reason for choosing a metal bat in particular. Oh no, wait, this is the chapter that we actually played. I don't know if it made an appearance in chapter 2. Well, let me know if I'm wrong. I will speak out about it later. After school that Saturday, my classmates were still having fun, playing in the schoolyard. I could show up there and it would be the same as always, so nobody will think I'm suspicious. Getting my hands on the weapon without looking suspicious was actually a factor I couldn't ignore. I didn't normally play baseball, so if I went to the sports store looking for a metal bat, it would be definitely suspicious. I can't let there be a beginning to the story, so I needed to be careful, really careful, even about that. That left school. At a location at which my appearance wouldn't be suspicious, I would acquire the weapon. I checked inside the classroom through the window, but of course there was nobody there. Right, it's the weekend. The only students who would stay in there were me and the others when doing club activities. Without us, the classroom after school was just an empty, unused room. Without glancing around nervously, as if I'd gone to get something I'd forgotten, I casually went to the entrance. It looked like the teacher was busy with the paperwork in the teacher's lounge. I didn't see her in the hallway. Naturally, yet quickly as a shadow, I entered the classroom. The empty room was full of strange and stagnant air that you couldn't feel normally. An empty classroom with nobody here. Maybe while no one was around, the desks creep about of their own accord, licking the floors clean of dirt. If I suddenly stepped into a place like that, would the desks, in their surprise, fly at me, crush my bones, and eat me alive? What an odd thing to think. That's ridiculous. I felt regret at wasting valuable thinking time on stupid delusions. At least he knows. The students' lockers were lined up in the back of the classroom. The one I was looking for wasn't my own. It was forbidden locker, one I'd accidentally discovered one day. Here it is, Hoju. This has to be it. If one person has one locker, then why would only Satoko have two? I'd made a fuss about it once. After that, I learned it was Satoshi's locker, and he had the same last name as her. But of course, even though it was a locker for a student no longer here, looking inside it was still a shameless act. But one time, I let my curiosity get the better of me and took a peek inside. Inside it was average and worthless. At the time, I hadn't been interested, so until now I'd forgotten what had been in it. But now I had, dare I say it, awakened. I remembered the thing that had been there. Scrape. I opened the locker, and a stench of mold and sweat wafted out. Or wafted. Like a gym storehouse that hadn't been cleaned in weeks. My face puckered up at the stench, but I looked for it. Yes. Satoshi was on Coach's baseball team. Inside the locker was a Hinazawa fighter's uniform. And it. The one Satoshi used, the metal bat. Yes. This was the reason I wanted to choose this bat. This murder could be carried out by me, but this wasn't originally my role. It was Satoshi's. Alright. Deeper thinking for Punchy. But I would stand in for him and call myself Satoko's Nini. It was one of the rules for standing in for him. I reached for the metal bat and grasped it firmly. It was light, and yet its tip had enough heft in it, enough to easily imagine the horror if I brought it down with all my might. Satoshi, I'll give you one last chance to save your sister. Lend me your strength. You're a coward, but I will stand in for you. So if you still care even a little bit about her, you will lend me your strength. There is no more suitable weapon in the world for putting that man to death than your bat. Now, I just need to figure out where to hide it. Tomorrow, before the act, I would just stop by the school and grab it. Because I couldn't ignore the possibility someone would see me bring it home and think it was strange. But if I left it here, there wouldn't be a problem. Plus, tomorrow was Sunday. Not only that, it was the day of the biggest festival in the whole village. Nobody would be coming to school. I left out the entrance and went over to a construction vehicle parked nearby. We'd been warned by our teacher not to touch it just for laughs, so none of the kids would come near the vehicle either. They wouldn't, because if she found out they touched it, they'd be in huge trouble. I quietly hid it, in the shadow of the vehicle. The chances of someone operating the vehicle tomorrow were slim to none. Because tomorrow was Sunday. Government workers had the day off. And from what my classmates had said, the thing had been left here for years now. Machines that haven't been moved in years. You can't just suddenly start them up again. So I was almost definitely fine in this case. The sunlight was piercingly hot. My head grew faint for a moment. Had the heat been this harsh for the entire day? A moment of dull thoughts like this was a moment of carelessness. I gave myself a couple of hits in the head, then looked around warily. Okay. Next, how to dispose of the corpse. Oof. This really is like Punchy's going through it step by step today. Oof. I don't even know what to think of the future or what's gonna go on during the Watanagashi, after the Watanagashi. Disposing of the corpse. The ultimate way to not create a beginning was to not let the corpse be found. It was even more important than killing him. Thinking on it vaguely, the first thing that came to mind was the swamp. Onigafuchi, the dreadful bottomless swamp revered even now, that appeared in the legends of Onigafuchi village. Yes, the swamp called Onigafuchi was here first, and then the village took its name to become Onigafuchi Village. In other words, this swamp was the origin of Onigafuchi Village. No one, no matter who it was, would float back to the surface of this bottomless swamp. Everyone would be swallowed down into the land of the demons below the earth. That was how the stories went. If I was trying to copy Oyashiro-sama's curse, then I felt that the theory demanded I discard the remains and the weapon into the swamp. But they might have said it's bottomless, but I didn't actually know. And people say large creatures like humans produce a lot of gas when they rot, granting a lot of buoyancy. It was why using fairly heavy objects to hold the people down didn't work. Come to think of it, with the curse the year before last, Riko-chan's mother drowned herself in this swamp. And the criminal behind the dismemberment that went missing the year of the first curse too, it's rumored he tried to discard the body in the swamp and accidentally drowned in it. I never heard of the corpse coming back up or them finding it. Then, shouldn't I choose to discard the corpse there too? I could discard the weapon there. And then, for example, if her uncle came out on a motorcycle and attacked, it would be convenient to get rid of the motorcycle too. I knew that Satoko's uncle generally used a motorcycle for transportation. But, as for the corpse... After a lot of worrying, I decided not to discard the corpse in the swamp. The drowning, suicide, and accident were both rumors. Nobody knew if they'd actually happened. There were no lack of false rumors about the drowning suicide anyway, and it was possible the murderer hadn't drowned there and was still on the run. That meant no one had ever confirmed a corpse being dropped in there and then not coming back up. Then what would I do with the body? I thought it might be interesting to go with the first incident, cut him into pieces and hide him, but the preparation and work for dismembering a human body would be difficult given the amount of time I had. With that out of the question, I arrived at the conclusion to go with the more orthodox method of burying the body. Then where would I bury it? Was a question related to where I would kill him. Of course, I wanted to keep my time and proximity to the body at minimum. With that in mind, I wouldn't want to dig the hole to dump the body in beforehand and to make the location of the act and the hole close together. The choice of where to plan the crime, that I needed to be absolutely careful and thorough with. It had to be somewhere nobody would witness it, and a place with hiding places for a sneak attack. I could dig a hole for the body right there. I go over the possibilities in my head of the various destinations her uncle would head to from Satoko's house. I imagined a map of the area in my head, and then I found a place that fulfilled those conditions so easily it was almost unbelievable. A bit of a back road that went through the woods. I didn't think her uncle would go deeper into the mountains of Higurashi on a whim. If he was going somewhere, he passed through these woods first. And nobody used this back way unless they had something to do at Satoko's house or one or two other places. This path was fantastically ideal, as few people used it. I would wait for him in these woods. Would an ambush actually be possible? I went to the trees and tried really hiding myself in a few places. It was extremely quiet. My senses could be sharpened here to their maximum amount. I didn't know where he'd come, but I'd wait right here for Satoko's uncle. I actually had some trouble coming to that decision. The question arose of whether I should somehow call the man out. Was there a risk I'd be taking by luring him here? There we go. That man made Satoko do all the shopping and errands. He seldom left on his own business. He wouldn't leave unless I worked out a plan to force him to, would he? That was the question. Tomorrow was the Watsunagashi festival. Would he go out for the festival, or would he stay inside? If he stayed inside, how would I drag him out of his house? That's right. Wouldn't he Make Satoko go to the festival? Satoko will go to the festival. Meanwhile, I would call the man. This is the Okinomiya police station. We have the young lady from your house. Could you come and pick her up immediately? It didn't even have to be the police. This is the clinic. The young lady from your house has been injured. Please come and pick her up. Yes, that would work too. If I claimed to be the police or the hospital, told him to come and then hung up on him, he'd rush there trying to figure out what was going on, wouldn't he? And just the other day, he was visited by a probation officer. He wouldn't suddenly grumble about having to get his niece and not go. It would look like child neglect. The man had no skills useful around the house. Satoko, his slave, was an essential part of his daily life. Conclusion. If he went out to the festival, I would attack him here on his way there or back. If he didn't, I would lure him out by phone. If luring him out by phone was my first step, I needed to be sure Satoko would go to the festival, leaving the house. It would be convenient if I could make Mion take Satoko to the festival. She said her aunt was a district welfare officer. In other words, an ally to the probation officer. If I somehow incited Mion to taking Satoko to the festival with her, well, being who she was, she'd use that fact and get her there. Satoko should just take a break and have fun at the festival with everyone. She should have a good time, reminisce on our former peaceful days, and when she went home, everything would be over. Yeah, that would be the best outcome. With that decided, I needed to dig a hole somewhere in the woods to hide the body, so it wouldn't stand out, so it wouldn't be found. Someplace nobody would see me while I was completely exposed as I buried the body. I had wanted to be close to the scene of the crime, but it naturally grew farther away. Deep in the bosom of the Black Forest, the voice of the Higurashi were the only sounds here, informing me that people shouldn't indiscreetly set foot in this place. Digging a hole, huh? Digging a hole with so many tree roots crawling around the ground would be far more difficult than I'd envisioned. I stuck a gardening spade out there in my bag, but that wouldn't be enough. Still, as I looked into various approaches, I managed to find a place I could dig into. Tomorrow, I'd bring a real shovel from the storeroom at home. I'd manage with that. I wondered how big a hole would have to fit a human all the way into it. I'd probably have to dig pretty deep down, but if I was slipshod in these efforts, I'd let a beginning occur. I absolutely couldn't allow that. Use any amount of time you need to. I mustn't spare any effort to utterly erase him. I glanced at my wristwatch. It was a little past 6. This was probably all I was going to get done here for today. I really wanted to dig the hole in advance tonight, even if it got dark out. My mom would be upset if I stayed out that late. It wouldn't be good to come off as suspicious to my parents. I need to go back home and give Mian a call soon. I need to get her to promise Satoko to take her by tonight. After that, today would be done. Done. Would it be, though? Was this really everything I could do to prepare right now? I decided where to kill him. I decided how to kill him. I decided, of course, how to dispose of the body. I didn't decide on a time, but I would play that by ear. I didn't have a way to decide that. Was that really all? Was this really all right? Have I overlooked anything? Would this really go how I planned? After all this, worries started to well up one after another. It was only natural I'd be anxious. This would be the first and last big job of my lifetime. I could not allow failure, and I had no experience as this was my first time. I didn't have the know-how, the knack. So it was only natural I'd be anxious. The dark clouds of unease told me doing nothing would be the easiest way. A truly pathetic suggestion this late in the game. Have you forgotten how miserable Satoko looked? From the outside, it may have looked like I was resolute, but deep in my heart, my knees were shaking loudly. I've never actually won a single fight to my satisfaction. Could I really kill someone? I may have been planning an ambush, but my enemy was large and far older than me. He had a scary face, and he looked well accustomed to fighting. Could I have... All the pieces before and after the murder were perfectly planned. Was the actual murder, the most important part, what unsettled me the most? All my preparations, all my perfectly concealed machinations, if I didn't successfully murder him, they amounted to nothing. Damn it. After coming this far, you're pathetic, Punchy Mirabara. If you start to have these kinds of second thoughts, your ulterior motive will be obvious. Let's go home. Go home and calm your mind. Tomorrow will be a juncture in your life, the likes of which graduation, employment, marriage, and childbirth couldn't hold a candle to. A day of murder, to kill someone, for someone else's sake. With that day behind us, we would take it back again. Those mild, spring-like days we never thought would stop. Those safe, peaceful fun times. I pedaled my bicycle hard to get back home. I felt somehow unsteady, like my body and soul weren't in alignment. A subtle shift between where the tips of my hands and feet really were and where I felt them to be. My vision was a little distant and narrow, as if the great barrier I risked my future life on had nothing to do with me. An unreal sensation. How could I put it? Everything was so far away. Fine. Feel your unease permeate you, Punchy Maribara. If that will turn your timidity into meticulousness and allow you to act with greater caution, then it's actually an important emotion to feel. This feeling I had never went away that night. Well, before Punchy goes on today, we'll end it there. So we got to see a little, well, not even a preview, but we got to see Punchy's actual plan, going to the back, going into the woods that's, I guess, connected to Toko's house, or a path that's frequented by people going in that direction, digging the body and killing it. But it's like planning a murder and actually murdering. It's always something different. Like, it's not easy to do. Like, he's so thought, as he now can notice, because like he said, he's not in alignment, something's wrong with it inside him. I don't know, maybe it's like, if he can go curse form with Oishiro-sama, then maybe it's like that. Question though, we had that tip that was, it was a report about taking to Toko and what happened, and it was after the incident in the classroom where she freaked out when Punchy touched her head. Does Punchy know about that? Is she gone already? Like, I'm a little confused on the details right now, but yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe. I'm also I am gonna finish Walking Dead. I just haven't gotten around to it because I always shoot late at night. I do like having a bunch of recordings, like all together, like doing a big day of recording and then editing every day of the week because I have work. So like I don't have that much time. But it's just like, in keeping with the story and remembering everything, it's so much nicer recording every night. So it's hard to, like, I don't really know how to balance it that well. So it's hard for me to play a second game because I do want to finish Walking Dead. I only had 2 episodes, but I really enjoyed it. But also because this is a little more serious, like with child abuse and everything like that. And I was seeing Punchy go crazy in a different way than we've ever seen. And then Walking Dead, mostly serious. I'm sure there's like a couple of joke jabs in there, but mostly serious. I do have another game that I'm gonna play. I forgot what it's called, but it's just like a lighthearted game to go in between all this. So hopefully I can actually get those two out though. So we'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.